What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here's today's video. I will be doing a quick little video on why I believe that Tyler Huntley should be the Ravens' second string quarterback moving forward into the playoffs and into next year. Um, I kind of want to see him move ahead of Robert Griffin III and Trace McSorley on the depth charts for good. And I also think we could see one of those two quarterbacks maybe be released following this season. Now, I do think that Robert Griffin III and Trace McSorley both did a pretty good job before, but now I believe it would be in the Ravens' best interest to move forward with Tyler Huntley, most importantly, because of the three backups, I believe that he is the most similar to Lamar Jackson. I still think that the Ravens may move forward with three quarterbacks. So I'm guessing we would see RG3 go if it's of those three, but I don't really know. Both Robert Griffin III and Trace McSorley are still dealing with injuries. And Tyler Huntley is actually the only other quarterback healthy on the roster besides Lamar Jackson. So for now, Huntley has to be the first backup quarterback. But I think even when Trace McSorley and Robert Griffin III get healthy, I still think the Ravens should stick with Tyler Huntley as the backup quarterback. Huntley is actually an undrafted free agent that the Ravens signed from Utah. But, during his time at Utah, Huntley was one of the best quarterbacks in Utah program history, and his senior year was actually one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. So signing him, I think, seeing what he could do both running and passing the ball, the Ravens definitely wanted to take a shot on him. And so far, it's looked like it's been a very smart signing because with undrafted free agents, you really can't go wrong with who you sign. Some are better than others, but you'll always find a diamond in the rough, and you'll also find some guys who can bang around on practice squads and eventually even work their way up to the team and compete for starting spots. So Huntley was one of those guys, when he signed with the Ravens, it was tough for him just because, he was competing with RG3 and Trace McSorley for the second or third string roles and really wasn't getting there. But, in 2020 with a COVID season, really nobody knows what could happen or who could get hurt. So Huntley actually got his opportunity. He was called up, I believe, in week 15, and he's actually gotten to play in two games just because of the Ravens, the way they've played against the worser teams and took such a big lead. So Lamar Jackson was benched in the fourth quarter, and Huntley was brought in and actually played pretty well. For Ravens fans who have watched, I think we know he played well. He really plays similar to Lamar Jackson, which is definitely a good thing because if Lamar Jackson were to get hurt, bringing in a quarterback who has the exact same skill set as him would be perfect to keep the offense going the way it is versus bringing in a guy who is a little bit different. So then the Ravens won't be able to run the option as much and stuff like that. So I definitely think Huntley and Lamar Jackson's speed are right next to each other. I don't think Huntley has as high of an IQ as Lamar, but that's obviously his IQ will improve throughout his time with the Ravens and in the NFL. So, like I said, I really like this undrafted free agent signing when we signed him. But looking forward, I just believe that Huntley is the best second string quarterback on this roster and even could compete for a starting role in some other spots in the NFL. So Huntley actually started his college career um, at Utah, where he stayed 4 years. His freshman year, he played in 4 games, so he didn't play too much. But from his sophomore year on, barring injury, he actually started in every game he was able to play in, which is pretty incredible in the Pac-12, a Power 5 conference. And given the fact that, Utah has been a pretty good team, and I think we've seen that because of his play. His senior year, he actually had a great year. Almost led Utah to the college football playoff, which is incredible given the fact that Utah is not usually a top 10 team ever in college football, and they were almost a top four team. But because of their loss to Oregon and everything that happened with that, Utah was actually bounced out. Still playing a good bowl, but didn't get to play in the college football playoff because of the tough loss in the Pac-12 championship. However, during his senior year, we saw everything that Huntley could do, and he actually showed a lot of people he could actually throw the ball, which some people were kind of doubting, which is another similarity he has with Lamar Jackson. When Lamar Jackson was coming out of college, all the questions were around if he could throw the ball or not. But if you actually watch his film, you'll know Lamar can throw the ball. And same with Tyler Huntley. In my opinion, watching film on him has been pretty impressive, just by the fact that he makes so many plays with his feet and then can drop back and make great throws. So having that dual threat ability would really help if we had Lamar Jackson go down, because we wouldn't see much of a difference in the run game. Now, he definitely will have to improve as a passer, but like I said before, years in the NFL, he'll improve as long as he works hard. That's not really a question. And it's not really expected of him right now to be the greatest passer ever, just because it's his first year and he's still learning. But the stuff he can do with his legs is better than most people in the NFL playing quarterback as a whole. So I really like that signing. And right now, I think it's showing. Against Cincinnati, we didn't get to see him throw the ball as much as I would have wanted to. I think it's smart for Harbaugh to keep the run game going late in the game to run some clock and kind of try not to run the score up on teams. But getting a guy out there like Huntley, we kind of saw him throwing the ball a little bit against Jacksonville, but not as much against Cincinnati. I guess where Harbaugh was not trying to get some of the guys injured, but I actually would have liked to see Huntley throw the ball a little bit more against Cincinnati and let him get a little bit comfortable, just in case Lamar Jackson were to get hurt during the playoffs or something like that. But, like I said, we saw him throw the ball a little bit in the Jaguars game. And, he actually made some really good throws. The one throw to Boykin was a back shoulder throw. Boykin dove to the ground and dropped it, but it was actually, it looked like a pretty good throw. And then we also saw some overthrows late in that game, but it wasn't anything too serious. But in the Bengals game, we actually saw his first drive. Dobbins had a 76-yard touchdown run. And I just think, like with Lamar in the game, having a guy like Huntley makes defensive ends and linebackers really have to think who's holding onto that ball when they run the option. And on J.K. Dobbins' touchdown run, the defensive end didn't know who was getting the ball. He was blocked. But it just causes a problem for that end or linebacker to have to think for just even a half a second or a quarter of a second, could just make a change in a play with us getting a first down or even getting a touchdown. So I really like that about him. Trace McSorley is a little bit of a dual threat quarterback as well. He can run, but Huntley, I definitely think, is more dynamic than McSorley is and has a better impact on this offense. While McSorley played against the Browns, he played well. He also played well against the Steelers once RG3 went down with the injury. But I think Huntley would give the offense a spark more than the other two guys. I think we've seen it in his time in the game, and it also seems like the guys on the sideline and the guys on the field are a little bit more excited and play with more excitement while Huntley is on the field. I'm not sure if that's just because he's closer with the guys or what, but I really like that about him as well. He brings a lot of excitement to this team. Looking forward into the postseason, I think it would be smartest for the Ravens to keep both RG3 and Trace McSorley on the IR if they're still injured. They could pull one off and keep the guys on the roster they already have there, but I think it would be smarter to go with what they have now. The emergency quarterback could be McSorley if he comes off, but we will still have to see with it what happens with him. And yeah, like I said, I just think Tyler Huntley has moved the ball really well when he's came into the game. Granted, it's been late. It's been in kind of garbage time, but still, like I said before, he gives a lot of excitement to this team while he's on the field, and just overall the team seems to really play well while he is on the field with them. I think if he is the backup in the playoffs, I think he could learn a lot more. And then heading into next season, he could be ready to definitely take on that second string role. Looking forward ahead, I don't think they'll be able to keep him around for as long because, like I stated before, I think he is a good enough quarterback to be starting in the NFL for certain teams. I'm not saying he's like that now, but his skill set could really help a few teams. Um, you know, Lamar Jackson has really changed this Ravens team. With Joe Flacco, we saw more of a less run, way more passing threat. And since we've had Lamar Jackson, obviously it makes sense, but the Ravens' run game has been incredible. It's been probably the best in the NFL since the Ravens applied Lamar Jackson to the starting role. And I think that's really been the difference in the Ravens' run game. So in the future, Tyler Huntley could be placed into one of those roles and change a team's run game. But like I said before, he can definitely throw the ball. So if a team were to take a chance on him after a few years as a backup of Lamar Jackson, I think they would be getting a really good quarterback. But we will see how that happens in the future. Now, like I said before, looking forward to the playoffs, I think Huntley should stick to that role, take the backup. If Lamar Jackson were somehow to go down to injury, you could just place Huntley in. Now the offense will probably slow down a little bit, but it's the same skill set. So you wouldn't really be having to change the scheme. You would just be switching the quarterback, stick with the same scheme because Huntley can do the similar things to what Lamar Jackson can do. So now that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like, a comment on what you think of the video. And if you wouldn't mind leaving me a subscription, that would really mean a lot for everybody who's watched this video. So now looking forward, I'm definitely going to start dropping a lot more of these videos, talking about the Ravens, talking about football as a whole. So like I said before, if you like this video, please leave a like, a comment, and please subscribe to my channel because that would really help. Thank you guys very much for watching, and please tune in for my next video.